I love that we're meant to be able to relate to this couple on a first date, and it's a little bit awkward, but they're rich enough to go on a first date to the top of a skyscraper restaurant.
So, how's this date going?
Alright, we heard that you guys had a lukewarm reaction to Red Eye when it came out 20 years ago, so we decided to do that again because we're Blumhouse, and originality isn't unheard of here, but usually doesn't go well, not these days. Remember when they made, like, Get Out? Now their original films are more like Tarot. Drop is fun because they're up high, but she also keeps getting airdropped photos by this mysterious person who has an assassin in her house, cameras everywhere in the restaurant, and is 2 steps ahead of her at all times, requesting that she kill her date to stop a scandal breaking out from the Chicago mayor's office. Really? Come on. If journalists in America can be put in group texts for war plans that can be shared with the public and don't get murdered for it, I don't think the mayor of Chicago is pulling out expert assassin teams over financial whoopsies. Oh, to be one of the villains in these films. Imagine having your shit that together, that you can have all of these cameras everywhere in this restaurant, this super high-end restaurant. You can have an intruder in this woman's house. You can have this whole plan set out so that it'll look like she's murdered this guy of her own free will, even though you beat up her sister and son at her house and broke in. There's going to be a lot of clear evidence of that. What was this guy's plan? This wasn't terrible. Like, so what? Drop definitely wins the award for having the most memes shown on screen in a Hollywood film, and for introducing so many characters in a short space of time fairly well, without feeling too expository, that it actually made me question early on, like, oh yeah, this could be quite a good whodunit. I did figure out who it was, like, it wasn't hard, like, reasonably early, but it was still enjoyable enough, that aspect of it. It's basically one of those films. It's about a woman who was in a survivalist situation previously and had some problem with it or didn't do well or who knows what, and now she has vowed to do better in this survivalist situation that she has been thrown into. Often those involve a shark, those kind of films, but this one has a domestic violence idea behind it, yes, as widow Violet goes out on her first date since her abusive husband died, and is told by some mysterious person to kill her date. Yeah, God, dating is hell, Jesus. So Violet gets there, meets a cookie cast of characters who were quite interesting. The side characters, I feel like, are just like generally well written, but without having to have loads behind them. It's a 90-minute runtime, so the characters don't get like that much exposition except for her. Even her date doesn't. But then she goes and meets her date, Henry, who is played by a man whose most impressive career feat to date is staying out of all of the It Ends With Us drama. I don't know how he managed that. He was one of the main stars in that film. How did he escape all of that? Also, he's named Henry in this film, which is a relief because he was named Atlas in that film. It's not a name. So then she starts getting airdrops from a mysterious villain hiding in the shadows, but they're somewhere in the restaurant, but she can't figure out who it is, and they know it's somewhere in the restaurant because you can only get airdropped from like 50 feet or whatever. There's a whole thing about it. Anyway, and then the person tells her you have to destroy the evidence that Henry has on the mayor's nonsense, whatever, MacGuffin bullshit, and then you have to destroy Henry himself too, or we'll kill your son and sister. This is all just to frame somebody for his death instead of just like killing him in his car and making it look like an accident. I feel like he could have got away with that, especially given that on this date he took a shot with her and he had like at least 2 glasses of wine. I feel like you could have made it look like a drunk driving accident. He was going to drive home. His car was at the restaurant. Like, there's just easier ways of doing this. I'm just saying, in Red Eye, it had to be Rachel McAdams for a very specific reason. I actually enjoyed this film. It's only 90 minutes long, and that is kind of probably the perfect length for something like this, you know? We've seen all of these constituent parts before, but put together like this, with good enough writing, I will say. Her character was more likable because of the domestic violence thing. That was a good angle to put on it, and a very modern idea, which was nice. His character, I mean, Brandon Sklelar is his name, I think. He's just been a perfect man character in everything I've seen him in so far. Which either means he's got to be just like that in real life or evil in real life. There's no in between. And yeah, it had enough other characters and side characters that it introduced to make it a good whodunit. That aspect was probably my favorite thing about it, that they added that in. And overall, yeah, I had a good time in the cinema without thinking that I'm ever going to really feel a desire to watch this again. So I would have just airdropped them back some real weird shit to freak them out. 3 stars. Blumhouse really are just struggling a bit to put together that real, like, wallop of a horror movie once or twice a year that they were pretty much good for in the past. Right? I feel like they were. Is this like a Mandela effect thing? Were Blumhouse never good? I don't know. Subscribe for more existential crises.